Hello everybody and welcome back to the Overlap Breakdown channel, and today we're here to cover the first round of round of 16 ties in the Champions League. Okay, welcome back to the channel. We're in Brighton early this morning to cover some of the fallout from the Champions League round of 16 games, which were absolutely incredible. And we're going to trial something a little bit different, which is doing a little bit of a news report on all of the games that were played, but also giving my own analysis for each game. I've watched 3 out of the 4 games in full, so I've now got a pretty decent idea as to what to talk about when it comes to each game. And yeah, we're going to get into it. There's a lot to get into today, and if you do enjoy the pieces, please don't forget to subscribe. We've got really exciting things coming up. So yeah, just click the subscribe button, like, comment, and let us know if you want to see more of these moving forward. But I am going to start off chronologically, and I'm going to go straight into Galatasaray 1, Liverpool 0. This is the early kickoff in Turkey, and I wanted to talk about, there's a few things in this game. I think Liverpool have now lost 12 games in all competitions this season, in which they have conceded the opening goal. This is their most since 15-16, which was also 12. So it looks like they could be well on their way to breaking that record. And Victor Osimhen has now been involved in 8 goals in the Champions League, which is the most ever by a Nigerian player in the competition. And there are 2 main things I want to speak about. Number one, I want to speak about how good Victor Osimhen is. And I think in general, I watch him a lot in the Champions League, and I think it's almost freakish why he never looked like he was going to come into the Premier League. And I think when you look at all the transfers that were made in the summer for the strikers that were paid big fees, big wages, that is a striker that every single time I watch him, he single-handedly drags his team up the pitch and creates something out of nothing. There was a moment in the game where he actually ran out onto the left-hand side up here, and he had the ball, and I think Joe Gomez and Konate tried to 2v1 him. And Victor Osimhen is by no means, no one will lie to you and say this, he's not an elegant player, he's a brute force player, but he has these moments where he can just make little bits of footwork work. And yeah, there was this moment where these 2 pressed him in here, and he actually knocked it through one of the legs and got through like this, and then he got fouled, and then Galatasaray got a free kick. And then there was just multiple moments where he was being that graveyard shift centre forward, a man who can lead the attack on his own. And for me, every time I watch him, it's so nice to see him on the big stage, because every time I do watch him, he leads the team and he just plays like a proper number 9. He's a nuisance, and some of the angles, some of the chances he creates for himself, the assist for the goal that was scored by Mario Lamine, the way he gets up from standing starts, his leap, his power in the box. Konate and Van Dijk, they're 2 very strong physical centre-halves, 2 very good ones, and he was an absolute nuisance for them. And it's not the first time he's caused Liverpool a boatload of problems. He did it at Napoli as well. So I really wanted to give him a shout out, but I am now going to go in to talk about Liverpool, who I thought once again were pretty poor. I think it's quite funny because I actually said on Twitter that within the first 10-15 minutes, Liverpool should have been 2-3-0 up. Galatasaray had the ball in this sort of build-up shape with the 4-2, and the keeper, Davinson Sanchez, obviously used to play for Spurs, Singo, who used to play for Monaco, just giving away the ball under pretty much zero pressure. And I think Galatasaray were almost forcing themselves, into stupid situations, and they should have been 2-3-0 down. But after they got past that 10-15 minutes, Liverpool, once again, toothless in open play. And I've been wanting to talk about Liverpool for a long time back on this channel, but all the problems we covered with Liverpool from months ago, they're still there. It's the same thing. Their press, how many times do you see Liverpool high blocking? They don't high press, they don't low block, they high block. They stand in the opposition's half, looking at the ball at the centre half's feet, and their idea of pressing is not to win the ball back, it's to just block off lanes, shut off lanes. I don't associate Liverpool with that football. And when you can't force high turnovers and you constantly get past the ball around them and eventually you fall down into a mid-block, you're then looking for your counter-attacks, your transitions. And Ekitike is the only one to lead them transitions. They played Florian Wirtz again in this left wing position like this. They played Szoboszlai behind the 9, Salah here. That is not a team that is going to run forward on the break and cause so many problems and behind constantly throughout games. And they can't transition when the game gets more basketball-like. They can't. It just doesn't look natural to Liverpool at the moment. They also can't break down low blocks consistently from open play. They look threatening from set pieces. But when Galatasaray actually sat in the second half and Liverpool looked to pin them back, they had no real chance-creating method. Arne Slot bringing on Jeremy Frimpong for Mo Salah instead of Rio after all of the cameos we've seen Rio have, the numerous amount of problems he makes and causes for the fullback. It's really just worrying. And I said this online yesterday and even the week before. It's going to take a lot of money to get Liverpool out of this rut. They need one midfielder probably, like someone who can actually accelerate play. Gravenberch and McAllister were pretty poor in this game again. No real physicality. There was one moment from Gravenberch where he spun on the ball, but again, he can't pass the ball as well as you need him to when you go into places like this. They need someone who's going to get on the ball and take it. They need a left winger. I'm still so shocked they haven't got a Semenyo-like player out there. And they're using players like Florian Wirtz, and looks like a real big mess. And that's without even mentioning the centre-halves, who are obviously, God knows what's going on there with Konate, Van Dijk in the long term, and obviously Salah. But yeah, I also want to say that it's not over for Liverpool, just before we move on. It's not over for Liverpool. People might look at this and go, they're only 1-0 down in the tie, they've got to go to Anfield. Did some research last night, I seen a tweet online, I can't remember who it was from, so apologies. But Liverpool have had 2 wins at Anfield in European knockout ties since the Barcelona comeback in 18-19. Them 2 wins are against Villarreal in the semi-final first leg in 22 and Sparta Prague in the Europa League round of 16 second leg. In that time, they have lost to Atletico, drawn to Madrid, lost to Inter, drawn to Benfica, lost to Madrid again, lost to Atalanta, lost to PSG. This is not a Liverpool team that you would describe as inevitable in second legs. And yeah, I just worry for Arne Slot and Liverpool at the moment because they are so tough to watch. They are really boring. They are really boring. And they didn't actually play that awful in this game. But the bar is so low for Liverpool. And yeah, same problems as Wolves, same problems from months and months ago. Just feels like they're kind of ticking along to the end of the season now just to get going and get starting fresh again. But yeah, we're going to move on now into Atletico Madrid 5, Spurs 2, which is obviously the game that has blown up on social media. This was the game I actually had live on the TV watching it. And I was really interested to see how Igor Tudor would set up in this game. And that got all chucked out the window within the first 16 minutes as Spurs found themselves 3-0 down. Now, obviously, Kinsky subbed after 16 minutes. He had 5 touches of the balls, 2 errors leading to an opposition goal, 0 saves and 3 goals conceded. This was tough to watch. This was really tough to watch. I felt awful for him. And I do think you can't, obviously, if a player makes a mistake and you want to take them out of that environment, that's completely fine. I understand it. The decision has come from the manager to start the player. The decision has come from the manager to put the trust in the player. He was he didn't give much away when he was asked why he put him in there in the press conference and the pre-match interviews. Didn't really give much away. He was a bit tetchy about it. He was so strange in the decision to sub him off. Not hugging him, not even acknowledging him. Like, what are you doing? That's such bad man management. And then I can't remember what happened, but later on in the game, I was listening to the TNT sport commentators. I think it was Darren Fletcher. And he actually said that when Spence got subbed off, obviously this could be something that we haven't heard or whatever, but apparently when Spence got subbed off, he went and sat down on the bench, then got back up off the bench, and because he'd not been acknowledged by his manager, he went over to the manager and tapped him on his shoulder to acknowledge him. And I'm not sure, obviously you can't read between the lines, I'm just speculating here, but the man management aspect to Tudor at the moment is horrific. He is losing a lot of players. Mickey van der Ven, when I watch him under Igor Tudor, looks like a player who has checked out. He looks like a player who does not want to be there. He's going into tackles so rash. He's fouling so many players. And I think, do you know what? For all the scrutiny we've given Spurs, in this game, unironically, it was one of their better games on the ball. Like, I swear to God. In the first 5 minutes, Spurs were they were pushing for the lead, like they were doing well. At 1-0 down, they started doing well again. Richarlison missed a big chance. The 2 goals really well taken from high pressing situations with the centre halves stepping into midfield. We've criticised that often on the channel about Igor Tudor's setup, but when they went high press against Atletico, they turned the ball over in dangerous areas and they looked all right, but they conceded 5 goals. And it's so interesting with Spurs when you think it can't get worse or you think it can't get any more circus-like, something else happens. Makes a big decision like this to bring in a new goalkeeper, a second goalkeeper for his UCL debut. And he does that. But then also doesn't really take responsibility for the decision, not acknowledging him when he subbed him off. I think that's just awful. But there's nothing we haven't said about Igor Tudor and what's going on at Spurs. But obviously, Spurs have now lost 6 consecutive matches in all competitions for the first time in their history. And if I asked you, the audience, you watching this, if I asked you how many games you think Tottenham have lost since the start of last season, pick any number from the start of last season in your head, and I tenner bet you that 44 games lost is more than you were thinking. 44 games lost in the last 1.5 seasons. This is a club that is on the verge of a relegation, that are being battered from pillar to post in the Champions League. They're not convincing. The manager looks like he's lost some of the key players. Some of the players look like they've mentally checked out, and it's becoming really worrying. And we say that every week. It becomes more worrying every week. And they go to Anfield at the weekend and they're going to want to lick their wounds and go again. So, yeah, that's mental. Even the home fans and the Atletico Madrid bench were clapping Kinsky off the pitch because they felt that bad for him. I have that in the notes. I remember watching it and I think it was Jimenez on the bench who was stood up clapping him on the bench. I was like, what the hell? Like, what is going on here? Surely the manager doesn't have an ounce of sympathy for him. But anyway, and another thing to say, just before we move on to Atletico Madrid and how good they were, Vicario has the most clean sheets in the Champions League. And he dropped him for Kinsky. Yeah, baffling. But yeah, Alvarez and Griezmann in this game were exceptional. Griezmann aged like a fine wine in this game. I've watched him a couple times recently and he's been really tough to watch. He looks like he's lost it. That touch for the Alvarez goal off the corner break, that layoff is absolutely magnificent, and he was brilliant to watch. His first touch, he was swiveling on it, he was playing, his finishes, he's so cool, calm, what you'd expect a Griezmann player to be like, and he was just exceptional yesterday. And I just thought that was the Griezmann I know and love, the one that we all grew up with. And yeah, it's nice to see him have a little bit of a remontada. Alvarez has been a little bit out of form as well, so it was nice to see him. And that tandem really works with one playing off the other, and Ademola Lookman actually coming in behind the right back when it pushes up into the press, and he got a lot of space and work into them channels. And I am now going to go into Atalanta 1, Bayern Munich 6. This is obviously another game that I've watched. Are Bayern favourites for the Champions League? I don't know yet, but this is a team that can knock teams like well away for 5-6 goals per game. And I think the one thing that favours Bayern Munich a lot is that they've got such a good lead in the domestic competition. They didn't even play Kane in this game. They didn't even start Kane in this game. They had Nicholas Jackson, Serge Gnabry, Michael Olise, Luis Diaz, Alphonso Davies at left back, Stanisic at right back. And they were just unreal on the counter-attack. They were causing so many problems for Atalanta. Atalanta wanted to try and go man-to-man in the press, going like this, pushing up against them. And the amount of rotations, the amount of nice slick moves on the break from Bayern Munich were just unbelievable. And there was so many goals that they scored where they just picked apart this press, and there was so many third-man runs. One of Nicholas Jackson's best performances I've seen of late, extremely good. Michael Olise, I've got a stat here that says Michael Olise has now recorded 36 goal involvements in competitive matches this season, the highest total of any winger in Europeans' Big Five leagues. He's now got 41 GA in 37 games this season for Bayern Munich, Michael Olise. And he's now closing in on somewhat of a record, Michael Olise. I did some research before. Lionel Messi leads the way for 30 assists in 11-12 in 60 games, which is the most for any player in Europe's top 5 leagues. Michael Olise is actually on 24 after 37 games, so Michael Olise could actually track down this Messi record quite quickly, and it doesn't look like he's slowing down anytime soon. And yeah, They were attacking with depth, they were attacking with pace. There was one moment actually where Elise and Nicholas Jackson rotate on the break, and Nicholas Jackson actually ends up out here, and it's Jamal Musiala who moves inside for his goal when he crashes the box. And that front four worked so well against the man-to-man press. They had so much of the ball. I actually think they had 69% of the ball in this game, Bayern Munich, but they created 4.84 expected goals. They had 8 big chances and 25 shots. But they looked the most threatening when the space was there to be hit in behind Atalanta's man-to-man press. And with a front four like that, who can all play virtually in every position, the interchanges, the off-the-shoulder runs, the one dropping, one running beyond, it was really, really good to watch. And some of the goals that were scored in that game, Michael Olise's second goal in that game, wow. There's something about Bayern Munich wingers cutting in on the left foot that is just unbelievable. And he sort of he just encapsulates everything about Bayern Munich in terms of the technical elegance, the pace, the power, and he just looks at home. He just looks like it's business as usual. I've seen a video of him picking up his Man of the Match award at the end of the game, and he just looks like it was another day at the office, which is absolutely insane because what he is doing is quite frankly insane. And yeah, this was just a really, really good game to watch. Bayern Munich could now be the favourites for me for the Champions League. I think it depends what happens with obviously the Harry Kane injury or whatever's going on there. I don't know. But I think they could just be one of the freshest teams going into the later stages in the Champions League where things get a little bit leggy. And I think they've built a squad that can attack in different ways. I think they can box teams in. They can also play on the break. They can defend their own box. I think the only thing I'd be concerned about is the 2 centre-halves. But even then, Upamecano in this game, again, brilliant. So, yeah, really not sure. Don't give Atalanta any chance at the Allianz in the second leg. I don't doubt that Bayern Munich will heavily rotate. And yeah, a lot of long balls I actually noticed. I've got a note here. There's a lot of long balls from Bayern Munich playing off Harry Kane. The touch, Elise's touch for Serge Gnabry's goal. The keeper pings it. I think he's stood like this, man-to-man in the pitch like that. They've gone full man-to-man Atalanta. The keeper pings it. Elise's got contact on his back. The defender's all over him. And the ball drops perfectly and honestly kills the ball, takes it down, takes one dribble to the left and slips Serge Gnabry in down the middle like this. It's honestly, just go and watch the touch. It's unbelievable stuff. But yeah, extremely impressive performance, a bit of a statement performance as well. And moving on into the last game, which is Newcastle 1, Barcelona 1, which is unironically probably the most boring match of the lot, which is quite funny because I thought it'd be the one that was, you know, the 5-2 or the 3-all or whatever. But not really much from me on this game. I think Lamine Yamal obviously rescued a point at the death. Rescued a draw at the death to take back to the Nou Camp, which is a massive result for Barcelona. They would have took a point probably going into the game because St James's Park on Champions League nights is a tough place to go. But the only player I actually want to talk about in this game was Lewis Hall. I watched the first half, and this is the only game in Champions League that Lamine Yamal has not actually completed or attempted a dribble in. And I think, yes, it's because of how much, you know, ferocity that Newcastle play with, the little amount of time you get on the ball, especially as a wide player. Also, Ronald Araujo was playing right back. I really don't like that when Hansi Flick does it, but he offers basically nothing going on the outside of Yamal. And that left a 1v1 for him and Lewis Hall. And I think it was one of Lewis Hall's biggest tests to be like, how do you look against probably the best player in the world at the current time? And he passed the test with flying colours. He's unironically looks like a little baby Luke Shaw. He plays like him. He can pass straight. He can run forward with the ball. He's really brilliant on the ball when it comes to technical, give and goes, linking up, crashing down the wing. He's got that pace to go. He's also got a ridiculous amount of upper body strength. So when he's carrying the ball, he's bouncing off players left, right and centre. There was Barca players fouling him, trying to get him to stop running. And there was one ball he played over the top for Harvey Barnes in the first half, which was unbelievable. And it was one of them games where he's now getting to a point, Lewis Hall, where he looks like one of the best left-backs in the Premier League and potentially maybe should be starting for England in the World Cup. And I think they're the types of performances that move the needle. They're the ones that everyone remembers. When it comes to the World Cup, if England gets Spain, you look at Lewis Hall and you go, well, he's already played against him. He knows what he's doing. He's already proved that he can handle that. So Really, really, really impressive performance from Lewis Hall. It was a tough game. I think the XG was like 1.64 to 1.64, so it's literally neck and neck. And I did watch it. Newcastle getting in behind that high line. Alanga had a couple of chances. Joan Garcia made a brilliant save in the first half. Alanga with this little bit of a badly weighted cross on this run in behind, and it did look like Newcastle were going to overpower Barca. And in totality, they did up until the 96th minute, where Dani Olmo won the pen for some absolutely beautiful footwork. And then obviously Yamal finishes it. And I think Barcelona kind of got away with this one, I'm not going to lie. Newcastle, every time I looked up, were looking to penetrate in behind or looking to transition on Barca. And yeah, they looked like a good team. And it's never an easy job going to Newcastle in the Champions League. But they won't care, because they have now obviously got a drawing game to take back to the new camp, and they will fancy themselves. But yeah, really weird game, this one. It didn't really play out how I was expecting to, in terms of, yes, they were transitioning, Barca high line, Barca high up, playing with the ball. But I thought there'd be a lot more angst, like a lot more like fouling, a lot more dirty tactics. And yeah, I actually thought, I seen online that Pedri was bad in this game. I didn't really think that. Pedri went to St James's Park this year and looked completely fine, was dancing all over the park. And I think this was a game where he did virtually the same, but Newcastle were just that little bit better, a little bit sharper. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out of the new camp. And yeah, that has been a terrific first round of 16 games. And I think, hopefully, I'm asking for the same again tonight, because if that is the case, we'll be back in tomorrow, as you're watching this, to do the exact same thing as today. So let us know if you did enjoy this somewhat review, news, analytic piece on the first legs of the round of 16 first half. But yeah, please don't forget to like, comment and subscribe to the Overlap Breakdown channel if you do enjoy the pieces. And we'll be back next week for some more analysis. Thank you very much.